we launched a project called Big Life Adventure. We very much knew it was not about the destination. So it wasn't about outcomes. This was about the journey and exposure and experiences to life.
G'day, I'm Deborah Caldo, and welcome to the Red Giraffe Solutions Expanding Worlds podcast, where we aim to support you as you help your young person with additional needs plan for their future. A future where they are safe, secure, and live a rewarding and fulfilling life. From around the world, I share stories and share solutions from people making this possible right now. I'm a parent of a young person with additional needs, so I understand the challenges. Many of the people I've interviewed on this podcast have already helped me design a better future for my daughter, and I hope that they might help you as well to imagine what's possible for your young person. When I think about the life my daughter will have when I'm no longer around, I want her to have a safe, secure, rewarding and fulfilling life. But the truth is, it's not about me, because it's her life and she has the right to live it her way. Of course, I hope she wants those same things, but I don't expect us to have the same idea of what fulfilling or rewarding or even safe is. That's not my call. But as a young person with additional needs, I also know that parts of society will try and define her as someone who needs caring for. And the way that people with additional needs are defined is what this episode is all about. My guest is Lex Ali from Big Life Adventure, which is a project which is all about our young people taking back control over their lives and, like it says, having the opportunity to go on their own big life adventures. I know before I've talked about innovative projects driving change, but to be honest, I don't think that the word innovative is good enough here. If they achieve even half of what they have planned, this will lead to a seismic shift in how people with additional needs get to live their lives. So let's hear more about this project from Lex. Can we first of all find out a little bit about you and then about the project as well?
I work for an organisation called Big Life, which was set up by Peak 15, which is a provider for learning disability care and support. And we have residential care home, supported living, community support and day centre. So I've worked for this company for 11 years. I'm the mum of 3 grown-up children. And our project came about around 5 years ago. So we're not longer outstanding in CQC's rating in all areas of my supported living services. But we started to look at what a really good life looked like being supported by us. And we had some really fantastic examples of 2 young men with autism who are nonverbal road tripping with their staff through Europe. But we also had examples of where our services were where they were 20 years ago and people were living Groundhog Day and nothing had really moved on. And so we started to look at the reasons why. And we started to look at statistics across the whole of the UK. The statistics are shocking. A woman with learning disabilities will die at 18 years before a woman without. There's very low work. There's people aren't having intimacy, aren't having children, aren't getting married. We were really shocked. I think we always knew there was a huge gap, but identifying it really made us think we've got to change this. And so we had a vision really that we wanted to change the world for people with learning disabilities. We started to look at why. So there's lack of consistency from service to service. It depends how creative the managers are to think outside the box. There's a lot of ethical dilemmas, duty of care and protection versus risk-taking and how everyone should be living their lives. Social care is very much funded on medical models, so it's very low level. It's around shelter and warmth, and we knew that we needed to get up. We used Maslow's hierarchy, for those who have seen Maslow's hierarchy, around really self-actualization and what does that mean. And we also knew that support was very short-term. It's very planned around short-term. What does someone need now in relation to their health and well-being, rather than where do you want to be in 5 years and how can we get you there? Because if you rely on support, then it really needs to be actively worked on. And we really need to work out what your kind of desired lifestyle would be like. I'm a huge advocate for risk-taking. It's really important. That's how we all learn. And people we support are often not allowed to experience the experiences or have bad experiences like we do to understand and to teach us. And so we launched a project called Big Life Adventure. We very much knew it was not about the destination. So it wasn't about outcomes. I know a lot of people talk about outcomes and outcomes are important, but it felt like I don't want people to measure my life. So we knew that this was about the journey and exposure and experiences to life. So we had our vision that we wanted to revolutionise the world for the guys. We call them the guys informally, guys and girls, that's what they asked to be called. So we developed this project. We work alongside families and professionals and the people we support to really understand life, first of all. So we looked at lots of kind of theories and lots of philosophies around what does a good life look like. And we looked at Martin Seligman, which looked at, it's called the happiness theory. So it was about having a pleasant life, a good life, and a meaningful life. A good life might be enjoying roller coasters or activities or an ice cream or something. And a pleasant life was more about using parenting and work and using your skills in things you love. And then meaningful life was about giving to others and having purpose. And I think we also realised that very little are the people we support given the chance to give. Now, that was huge for me because I'm a real giver. I make sure everyone's got a cup of tea, I want to be good at my job, look after my kids. And very little are they given the chance to give in society. I think often the people we support can be received as receivers or takers of support and funding, and they're not given the same opportunity in society. And I think very much society is set up for the non-disabled people. So using all this, we started to look at our own philosophy on how we're in a new model of support, on how we wanted to support people. So we knew what we wanted to do. We didn't know how we were going to do it. So we developed the philosophy of really teaching our staff and people around what good life could look like and changing people's preconceptions on what someone with a learning disability should and could do with their lives. Because we have huge examples of where people have expectations that are extremely low. Our guys, I video recorded them a little while ago for some training. And I asked them what their dreams and aspirations were. And it was to keep going swimming or to keep going to the day centre. And it was shocking. No one said, I want to travel the world. I want to have a baby. I want to drive. So it really made us realise that actually we really need to start with the people we support first and raise their expectations about what they can achieve. And when I looked at why that was so low, I mean, schools have low expectations. Sometimes families can, out of fear, society. It baffles me that it wasn't so many years ago that people with learning disabilities didn't have sex education, our most vulnerable community, because it's like they're disabled, so they didn't have sex. For me, all of that stuff baffles me. And so we wanted to change that. And so we developed, first of all, a process. I call it Discover, Dream and Design. The first thing is about discovering the world. There's a huge digital divide out there. First of all, this was not set up to be a software. It was a philosophy, a new model of support, and it was going to be just in our internal organisation. Then we started to get some traction. People started saying, we're really liking what you're doing. We call ourselves a challenger brand. We're thinking outside the box. We're breaking down barriers. And we're doing that by doing huge things that are unfunded and we take a hit. We took 6 people we support to South Africa for 3 weeks to build houses and to give back to the community. And we travelled and we did 4 planes and had the time of our lives. If someone had looked at my risk assessment, they would have thought, you can't do this. We got stuck in Johannesburg and slept on the floor for 5 hours. And we do things like Glastonbury and mountain climbing. But this process isn't just about big things. Obviously, it's also about making a cup of tea might be really salient in somebody's life. So this process was designed for everybody. And so our process is Discover, Dream and Design, and it has turned into a software. What I knew was that there's nothing purpose-built that I could find. There's a few little apps for little things, but there wasn't a purpose-built technology that was based around being accessible for the people we support, especially in social care. As a provider, it was all about governance. It's about quality assurance and rotas, and there was nothing out there. We used systems to record care notes and support, and we used to take photos on these systems and it would upload to our system. The people we support couldn't see their own photos. It was so unperson-centred and it was all about the governance. We decided to change it. So for the last 3 years, I've been developing the software, which is a tool for people with learning disabilities, firstly, their families, professionals, their friends, whoever they want on there. And this is designed to work in a process. So the first point is discover. So that is, it's like it's a safe social media. It's discovering the world. It's seeing what's out there. It's being inspired. It's meeting friends. Sometimes you could live next door to somebody with the same interest as you and never know. And Discover is working really well. That's live now. And what we're seeing is the friendships, the groups people are setting up, taking ownership. This is about them leading their support and their life. So the Discover is a completely safe social media. And the way we've done that is we've spent a lot of money developing artificial intelligence into the software. So we know people are vulnerable to exploitation or giving bank details or whatever else the risk may be. And what we didn't do, I'm very much about advocating for people's rights. They're adults, they can do as they want. So I didn't want anything that was paternalistic. So what the AI does is in the background, it will monitor private chats with no one else knowing, no humans knowing, private chats and their page, and it will pick up and understand if there is any maybe harassment or abuse. And what it will do is it will educate the person first. So it will pop up and say, do you really want to post this? This is what could happen if you give your bank details out. And then depending on the risk score, it'll either allow them to post if they were, say, I don't know, just being rude to somebody, or it won't. And it will notify, it will notify their support network as well. So like families can be safe in the fact that there is a system that's going to monitor, because I think it's a risky place when you're open to everybody else. So on Discover, they can meet new friends, they can meet people by interest, meet people in their own communities. And we're seeing some really lovely examples already of where people are meeting up and making friends, and it's expanding their world. We then have our dream space, not quite ready yet. So that's around how you holistically look at somebody's life. It's based on 9 elements of life that we co-produced with the guys. And then we have our design space, which is where you can really break down in like a plan of the steps that someone needs to get there. You can break them down as small or as big as you want to. You can allocate someone to help them with that. You can add resources that they might need. For example, if somebody was travel training, you could break down the steps that they need to do. You could upload a photo of the bus stop they need to get off of. You could upload a picture of the money that they need. So they've got everything in one space. We then have other tools like calendars, so people can upload events and things in your local area. We have a journal space where people can just journal whatever they want to, which is a private space for them. And we have a resource hub, which is where they can access easy read information on anything that they may need. Or if a family member or if a staff member needed some support around something, they would be able to find a resource there as well. So we're really excited. We're just about to launch commercially in July, which was never a plan. It was always something that's internal, but it seems to have really made some waves, and it's really getting people to think differently. What we'd like it to become is a whole community network for anybody involved with people with learning disabilities to come together, and professionals and families, to really try and navigate and change the world for people with learning disabilities. Started to speak to some business organisations that are really interested in employing people with learning disabilities. So we're looking at having business pages on there. I think at the moment there's so much great stuff out there, some great work, but it's very fragmented. There's nothing that brings us all together. We also offer training to paid support workers or anyone really who wants to really understand the philosophy of why we're doing it, how we're doing it, and how to overcome the barriers that people might face with it.
Can I ask about some of those barriers? The little bit that I know about that sector, it's usually quite badly funded. Is this a sort of slow burn in the sense of really starting to change the guys you work with so that they then expect more from the people they work with? What are the biggest barriers that you see?
There's huge barriers. The first barriers is people's expectations. Every big trip I've done, I've had to either receive a complaint around it or very much advocate. I remember the first time I took a young man to Glastonbury, and I was told by a friend of his that it was disgusting that I was taking someone with a disability to clean a toilet and that he was potentially going to get stabbed with the drugs. And that's very far-fetched. These are the kind of things we face because I think people worry. We have a protective culture. So I think that one, first of all, I want to break down the barriers. I want to show people what people can achieve. When you see our photos of the guys in South Africa, that was a grueling trip, and they were just amazing. It was life-changing for every single one of us. Funding is a huge thing. We very much want funding to change. The chairman of my organisation, our organisation in Peak, is leading a project called Reinventing Social Care. And they have just sent their report out to government and everyone and saying it needs to be reinvented. We very much want funding to change. I would love to see just one pot of money that someone could do what they wanted with it. And that might be driving lessons, and that might be a bit of support for meals, and it might be Glastonbury. At the moment, often it's just obviously hours, and sometimes them hours aren't spent productively, and it can be like adult sitting. I see where people are walking around the local town with their support hours. It's fine every now and again, but it's a waste. And I hope with the design element where we can step by step, people will know what we should be doing within this time that's really productive and proactive. I would like commissioners to be able to log on and see what the people are doing. and very much work on, actually, if you fund better now, give us the right funding for us to be able to reduce someone's support. No one wants support. We want to get to the point where people can be as independent as possible. But funding is a barrier, and I think social care providers have to find creative ways of doing things. I run club nights before, decent club nights, till 2 in the morning. And I talked to some people that were in a care organisation, and the care was like, we don't have drivers. There's taxis. They don't have money. And there's all these barriers where actually I'm thinking, if we bring this community together, we were all going on this club night. There was plenty of drivers. We could have come together and actually release that pressure on funding and do shared support, find people that have the same interests and just get the best from everybody.
To be honest, I've never liked the word care because it seems such a passive word. Support, yes, because we all need support in our lives at some point. And after listening to Lex, I'm even more convinced that the model of care we have isn't good enough, and that a better way like the one Big Life Adventure is offering would be so much better for everyone. On next week's episode, I'm continuing my conversation with Lex, where we're talking about changing expectations and overcoming barriers. I just wanted to say thank you for taking the time to listen, and I hope that the stories and the solutions shared on here help you as you support your young person to create their future. And if you know anyone who would find the ideas useful, please share the podcast with them. Of course, if you want to, you can leave a review, because that is another way families who need this information can find it more easily. This show is created as part of Red Giraffe Solutions. To find out what the Red Giraffe is all about, visit redgiraffesolutions.com, where you'll find more resources around daily living, relationships, purpose and financial security. I'm Apta Bricaldo on Instagram and Facebook. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd love to have a conversation with you on any of those. Bye for now.